What's up, guys? So we're back with another Ableton Playback engineering video. I haven't done one of these in a while, but I wanted to come on and give a lesson on how to program your live AutoTune changes in our Ableton session. All right. So if you are on an Ableton playback gig, if you're running a show that also requires you to run live AutoTune, this is how you can store all your presets in your Ableton session so that each time you scroll to the next song, all your AutoTune settings are already there. So you don't have to go into your AutoTune plugin and change the preset for every song. It'll switch every time you switch songs. All right. So this is how we're going to do this. All right. First, we're going to go to UAD console, right? This is what we use to run live AutoTune. The reason why is because it has zero latency. So anything that you run through this application is going to have zero latency, meaning that there's no delay between speaking and between input and output. There's no delay between input and output. So whatever's said into that mic is coming out at the exact same time. All right. So this comes standard with any universal audio interface. So if you have an Apollo or something like that, this software comes with it. And so UAD also has their own plugins. One of their plugins is a zero latency Antares AutoTune plugin. All right. So we're going to take it and just throw it on right here, right? So we'll just search AutoTune up here. Comes up right here. AutoTune real-time advanced. All right. Now these are plugins you have to purchase separately, right? They don't come with the interface. All right, so here it goes. Now, there's a couple settings that we need to adjust in here so that we can get it to work with Ableton. All right. All right, so we're going to go here, preferences, or settings, preferences. All right, MIDI control. MIDI control. All right, so MIDI input channel. This is the first thing I'm going to do. Now, I do this just for the sake of safety, right? You could leave it on Omni, that's fine. I'm going to choose MIDI channel 2 just because I know this will be the only MIDI channel that I'll use for AutoTune, right? Now, I use MIDI channel 1 for my loop and stop commands in my session using the IAC driver. Now I'm going to be using the IAC driver for this example as well. But in a real life situation, that's not what you would be using, right? But I'm going to show you, what interface you would need to make this work in a live situation. Just a quick note on this. Before you go into the AutoTune settings, you need to go into UAD console settings down here, MIDI tab, and then change your device to what you want to receive MIDI from. So if you're using an interface, that will pop up here. But right now we're using the IAC driver, so we switch it to IAC driver. All right, so that's the first thing. So MIDI channel 2, MIDI control assignments. All right, so these are the things we're going to need to switch in between songs. Retune speed, key, scale. We can skip flex tune, that's kind of optional, and then humanize. All right, so those 4. All right, so the retune speed. So we're literally just setting this, right? So this says for each AutoTune parameter listed below, you can assign a MIDI CC number. The CC is control change. MIDI control change number to modify its value. Right? Use MIDI control change numbers 1 through 119. All right. So we're going to set these to anywhere between 1 and 119, right? Now, MIDI has some universal kind of standard routings right? So pretty much any system that you use, if you pull up the MIDI control change messages, number one is going to be like modulation, and then number two is going to be like pitch bend or something, right? It's kind of like um, standard across all devices, but there are some that are always undefined or kind of left blank. So I believe 20 to like 29 is usually blank or undefined. So I'm going to use 20, and it's not that it can't work either way. It will work either way, but I'm just doing this for just so you know it's easy to get confused, right? So retune speed 20, key 21, and we go on Ableton. This is going to make more sense. Scale 22, humanize 23. We'll skip flex tone for now. All right, so 20, 21, 22, and 23. Now save this. All right, now let's go back to Ableton. So we need to create a new MIDI track. A Shift Command T. All right. We're going to name this AutoTune. All right. Now, since we're going to use the IAC driver to link these two together, we'll select IAC driver channel 2 as the output, because we set our AutoTune plugin to channel 2, right? The IAC driver, I believe we have a lesson for that, a video already on our page for that. But so if you need to learn about the IAC driver, you can go look at that video. But this just allows us to communicate across applications on Macs. All right. So now that we're in here, I'm going to create a MIDI clip, Shift Command M. All right. And this is what it's going to pull up, right? This is the piano roll. Now, we're going to go down here to where it says envelopes. Open this up. In this box right here, MIDI control, right? That's fine. Then over here, these are all our MIDI CC messages, MIDI control change messages, 1 through 119, right? So you see, 1 is mod wheel, 2 breath controller, right? These are all kind of standard, right? So then down here we have general purpose and then undefined. So 20 to 31 is undefined. So we selected 20, 21, 22, and 23. All right. So let's just try one. So we'll do 20, which let's check what that was. 20 was retune speed. All right. So this is our retune speed right here. Right now it's set to 20. So if I take this and move it, let's just see what it does. Let's go back. Okay, so see, it changed it. Now it's at 296. Now the thing to consider is the difference in scale, right? Our scale here, this knob goes from 0 to 400, all right? This goes from 0 to 127. So 127 in Ableton is not going to equal 127 retune speed on the AutoTune plugin. All right. So you kind of just have to gauge it. Just kind of move it around till you get the value that you want. So if we say 5, right, and here, then in Ableton, on the AutoTune plugin, it's about 16, which is fine. All right. So let's set this right for this song, which this song, we have the song information right here. It's in E major. All right. So 21 is our key. So we're going to take this and move it. Again, we just kind of have to check. Matter of fact, the easier way to do this be like this, just so we can see it. All right, so we have our key right here. So you see I moved it up and it moved it up to D sharp. We go up some more. right? E. Now that's our key. Then 22 is our scale, which scales right here. That's major, minor, chromatic, right? We can take this, move this up to major. All right. So now the last parameter was 23, which is humanize, which is over here. And this one we can turn all the way up. Humanize 100. So it sounds more natural, right? All right. So we just changed all the parameters to what we want, right? This one we can just do manually because if you know whatever singer you have, whatever their tone is, low, male, tenor, alto, soprano, whatever. So we just put alto, tenor, right? And then same with this, like tracking. If you wanted to change this to 100 or 0, whatever, that's fine, right? And we could also add, you know, if we wanted to do vibrato or flex tune or any of that stuff, you can add those to one of these control change functions as well in the plugin, right? But just to show it, I just wanted to show kind of the main parameters that you would need. Okay, now let's go back here. And let's take this, all right? This is our AutoTune for this first song. Let's copy this over here to the next song. Now, we're gonna keep most of the settings the same, right? Because it's the same singer. So we'll keep the settings the same. We'll just change what needs to be changed, right? Which is the key, right? The only things that you would really need to change from song to song is the key and the scale, right? So the last song was in E. This one is in F sharp. So we'll go to 21, which is the key, and we'll do the same thing. Bring this over so we can see it. Take this, move it up until we see the key change. Oh, actually, I need to move this, sorry, over. There we go. E flat, F sharp. Oh, there we go, F sharp. And it's already major. And just, matter of fact, just to show it, I'll change something else on here. Let's change the retune speed. Let's just move it. Yeah, 85, whatever. All right. And the scale. I'll take the scale to minor. All right. So if I'm in my session, boom. So I scroll back to the first one we made and it switched to AutoTune automatically to E major, retune speed 16. Now if I scroll ahead to the next song, boom, it switched it. As soon as we hit this, switched to AutoTune, the retune speed to 85, the key to F sharp, scale minor. And so you would literally just do that for all the songs in your session. And then from that point, you would never have to worry about your AutoTune settings. They're going to switch automatically every time you scroll to this song. As soon as it hits this, it's going to change the AutoTune. All right. Now, the other aspect of this is the hardware, right? Obviously, I'm using an IAC driver for this because I'm just showing it on my one laptop. But in a real life playback situation, you're going to be running your live AutoTune. So this application, you're going to be running this on a separate computer. All right. Now, how you connect those two computers together so that Ableton can communicate with this plugin is this. iConnectivity MIDI interfaces. All right, you got the Mio XL, Mio XM. All right, let's just look at the XL because it'll kind of help to show one of the other aspects of or applications for this same thing, right? So this is just a MIDI interface and a USB host as well. So you can use this to connect your main playback computer to your AutoTune computer so that they can communicate. And so the same way uh, that we went here, this would just be Mio XL, which you would set up here in your MIDI settings, right? It will show up here. You would enable whatever you need to enable, and then you would come to your AutoTune track and you would set the output to Mio XL or XM or whatever, interface you were using. Now, this same principle applies if you wanted to use this same method to make patch changes for hardware that's on stage. So keyboards, guitar rigs, if you have digital like guitar rigs, anything that can be digitally controlled through MIDI that's on the stage, you can do that, right? So playback could be running tracks, running live AutoTune, as well as making patch changes for the keyboard player, right? And so you would do the same thing. You would hook your keyboard, whichever keyboards you're making patch changes for, you would plug them in here. That way you can connect them to your main computer, right? And then you would go to your session and do the same thing. You would just make another track called patch changes, and you would create dummy MIDI clips, except you would go here instead of envelope, you would go here where it says launch bank sub program. You would use this to set which presets on the keyboard you're going to trigger, right? So when the song starts, but you can also do this at any point in the song. So if you have another sound that's supposed to come in on the chorus, you could add another one, another MIDI clip here, right? Now, all hardware is gonna kind of behave differently when it comes to the how to input bank sub and program. You kind of have to just look at the manual of whatever you're trying to do this for, to see how what bank sub and program your preset is actually going to be in, how to actually get to it, right? So it may take even some experimentation, just kind of messing around with some numbers and just seeing what happens to try to figure it out. But yeah, so that is how a powerful way that we can use playback in an even more expansive way. This is great also too for people doing solo shows, or small bands or small setups, to where you're using your tracks in a more dynamic way, right? And so you might not, if it's just 2 or 3 of you on stage, you might not have enough hands to be changing all the sounds, changing the auto-tune settings, vocal effects or whatever, all that stuff, right? So putting it all in your session and automating it allows you to just kind of stay in the flow, stay and just perform, right? Focus on performing. And if you're doing this as a dedicated playback engineer for a larger production, it's just another thing that takes another kind of it's just kind of a taking another thing off the plate of the people on stage and allowing them to be more relaxed and not thinking about, oh, okay, I got to switch to this sound, or I got to switch to this bank, or what, it's all taken care of and they can just play. And it just creates, again, like I always say, the job of a playback engineer is that you play an integral part in creating a seamless flow in the live show production, right? Because you're kind of the middleman. You kind of sit right in the middle of the band and the text, right? And so this is just another way that you make life easier for the artist and for the band. All right. So this is an important thing to learn if you want to take your playback skills to the next level. And this is getting a lot more popular. A lot more artists obviously are using live AutoTune. Some artists can't perform without it, unfortunately. But that is just the reality of the world that we live in entertainment today. Um, whether you agree with that or think it's a good thing or bad thing, really doesn't matter at this point. It just is what it is. And so if you are doing this and you want to, like I said, grow and expand and get on bigger and better productions, this is something you'll need to know. All right. Peace.